Hello, you're watching ITU Telecom TV, reporting from Cairo in Egypt and ITU Telecom Africa 2008. I'm talking with Sami Al Basheer, who is the Director of the Telecommunications Development Bureau at the ITU itself. Sami Al Basheer, welcome. I haven't seen you for a couple of years. Glad to see you well.
Thank you.
Let's begin at the beginning. What is your function within the ITU?
The Development Bureau, or at the ITU D sector at large, is to promote and develop telecommunication, focusing, of course, on all aspects of it: infrastructure, the connections, the technology. We work with all our state members and sector members. We implement projects in the different regions, especially for developing countries, and we try to get our members to get together, not only to help each other, but also do business together, whether public or private. So if you can agree on this terminology, we are the socio-economic development part of the ITU, where the other sectors focus on their very important tasks of promoting technology and allocating the spectrum. Here we are do the rest. We take, as you can see, the extra mile to reach to the field and try to really get connect the unconnected, not only by the ITU, but with all our partners, development banks, other international organizations, regional institutions, governments, private sector, investors alike. And we do a lot of work, of course, to create the environment needed for such a work.
Suddenly, Africa is very much in the spotlight, and things are beginning to move across the entire continent. Why do you think that is? What's changed so recently?
You know, in addition to the advancement of technology, it is the political will. I think the African leaders have realized after many years that you cannot develop economies and you cannot develop and improve the life of the citizens of Africa without doing this and decided from Africa itself. We always say that we cannot have a pre-planned coming from New York or Geneva or any other capital of the UN or other organization, and we worked with the African governments in the last few years. Of course, before that I should say awareness was very, very important. I remember this organization, the ITU, in the 70s and in the late 70s and 80s was working on awareness, and awareness was the most critical point, is to convince the decision makers in the developing countries at large, not only in Africa, that this sector is very important and it's very vital for the development of their economic development at large, because it is, as everybody knows, is the basis for that. So we don't talk about this anymore. That means mission accomplished. That means everybody is convinced. And also, as I said, the technology, the internet, the media. I mean, the African people, like any other people around the world, are more informed now through satellite channels, televisions, and so on and so forth. So all this together came, and the African leaders, as I said, worked with international organizations. Just for example, with us, they worked with us in the regulatory part, where we encourage and help with our expertise and with getting experts from the industrialized countries to come and to showcase how they did it in their country, and many African countries copied that, and many African countries, of course, used what they think it's suitable for them from those and added to it and changed to it. In other words, it's the enabling environment. The environment became ripe to attract investment. The regulatory framework was clear. And as you know, whenever you have these conditions, money comes, and the example of the mobile is a very clear and obvious example how remarkable we managed to improve the connectivity in Africa on this side. But of course, there are many other missing links still we have to work hard on.
Last year, you held the sort of World Leaders Conference in Kigali in Rwanda. You came up with an action plan as a result of that. How's that progressing?
As everybody knows, we have the famous UN Millennium Development Goals, and also at the same time we have the goals and the action plans and the decisions of the WISES, the World Information Society Summit, which held in Geneva and Switzerland, and the ITU has the privilege to organize with other UN agencies and other partners. These plans, to get them implemented around the world, including in Africa, we felt, both myself and the Secretary General, that this will not happen unless we have our own goals for ICT development. And so the Secretary General contacted the leaders of Africa, and we start working with all our other partners from other parts of the world. And we came up with this idea of Connect the World series. And obviously, we have to start with Africa because there is where the real need is. Although there are many other parts of the world still need some help. But we wanted to start with Africa. We did, and the African leaders prove again that they have the political will to really do business with the rest of the world, with the private sector, and that's what most important. So we gathered there more than 1,100 people with about 7 heads of states, about 40 ministers from around the world, especially from Africa. And we adopted the famous goals to connect the unconnected in the rural area and connect all the African cities and everything in certain dates. And these dates are very ambitious. We're talking about 2012. And, but we think it's possible since, as I said, the political will is there. The Africans said it loudly in one voice. Please come and do business with us in Africa. It's nothing wrong with that. We're not going to protect our markets. On the contrary, we are open it. So we started doing this, and you know that there was some commitment, some announcement during this summit were launched, like just the famous GSMA, 50 billion for the next 5 years. And just yesterday, I think the same organization in a press conference said that is not enough. I mean, they probably need to double that number. And of course, many partners like from the US, the European Union, China, the Arab Gulf states, and alike, they committed themselves to work in Africa. And I am very happy to say that in the 6 months past, we noticed and we felt a change of the dynamics of really implementing these development goals. We saw through this telecom that people from other regions, not from Africa, are here. And I chaired a session yesterday where the investors and the operators and the businessmen and business people are discussing with African policymakers how they can enhance the regulatory framework, how can they coordinate between the different regulatory frameworks on the sub-regional and on the regional level to have a new wave of regulatory, what you call innovation and regulatory liberalization, let me say, put it this way, to even make open the market and attract even more investment. And we are very happy to see the result in so far in the forum in this very great event in Cairo. It's always a record. Again, we broke the record. I think the numbers were announced yesterday. That shows you that people are serious in this continent, and the ITU is committed to help these countries, to help all our members from the public and the private to achieve these goals.
Of course, when this event in Cairo in Africa is over, the ITU will move on, and the next event will be in Bangkok in September at ITU Telecom Asia. What will the main themes be there?
You know, although, as you said, Asia is different from Africa, but we have to remember that Asia is a huge continent, and there are sub-regions of Asia who are very similar, if not even more needy than Africa. Just to mention, for example, the Pacific small island states, and we are working very closely with them to prepare for the future Connect Asia. I will organize a ministerial meeting for the Pacific, for example, in Vietnam in October to prepare that. But about Telecom Asia, because of these different needs, as you said, in Asia you have some of the most developed countries, and you have middle-income countries, you have least developed countries, and unfortunately you have countries under war and problems, and their infrastructure has been destroyed, and we hope this will be behind us soon. So as you can see, the forum, the themes of Telecom Asia will be very similar to what we have here. Of course, some countries and some members would like to talk about technology, others still want to talk about the regulatory framework. The broadband phenomenon in Asia is remarkable in some countries, just to name a few, South Korea and others, Japan and so on. So these experiences, we can try to explore them and see how other countries can benefit from the experience of the countries I mentioned, the developing countries in the region and so on and so forth. Another thing that, like the telecom here in Africa, we decided to open up these regional conferences for all our members from other regions. So I expect many people from Europe and from CIS countries, from the Arab states, from Africa, will be also attending this event, which is only a few months away. And talking about future events, it's very important also. We talked in the beginning about the Connect the World series, and we are planning very soon, in a few months, to have the next Connect the World regional summit in the CIS countries. And then it will be followed by the one for the Arab states, for the Americas, for Asia Pacific, and so on.
Sami Al Basheer, thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me.